Imagine this, you're 18 and you've got a one-way ticket to a country halfway around the world. You're excited, you're scared, and you're ready for an adventure. That was me stepping into a new life with just a suitcase and a heart full of dreams. Have you ever stood at a crossroads wondering whether to take the familiar path or venture into the unknown? I stood there over 30 years ago, deciding to move to a new country, start over in a new job, and chase my dreams across the globe. And today I want to take you through that journey with me. It is full of twists and turns, but every step taught me something that I carry still with me now. My story starts all those years ago, but I promise the lessons are timeless. I grew up in the Netherlands in a decent sized town where a lot of people knew each other. But then at age 18, I packed up everything I knew and I moved to the US to work as an au pair, a living nanny. And at the time, I didn't speak much English, so there were definitely some misunderstandings. I actually thought that I was moving to Minneapolis, but when I landed in New York for a 4-day au pair orientation, I found out that I was headed to Annapolis in Maryland instead. So yeah, that was a surprise, but I learned early on to embrace the unexpected. Now, I was supposed to be living here for just 1 year, but you know how life goes, and that year turned into so many more. And I did move around a lot. That first year I lived in Annapolis, in Maryland, and I lived in a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia. I lived in New York State, near New York City, really. And I lived in a small town in Massachusetts. Now, each new place felt like hitting the reset button, and over time, I learned that uncertainty isn't really something to fear, it's something to embrace. Now, for 20 years, I worked at a credit union where I was a manager. It was stable, it was comfortable and familiar, everything I needed at the time as a single parent, but something just never felt right. And as much as I tried to make it work, it just never aligned with who I was deep down. But, leaving a stable job wasn't something I could easily do back then. So once my daughter graduated from high school, I then really felt like it was time to make a change. I took the leap and I left that job. I had no plan, just this feeling that I had to do something different. It really was terrifying stepping into the unknown, but that leap led me to start working at a hospital in Boston right at the start of the pandemic. That time taught me so much about resilience, and it also showed me that sometimes stepping away from what doesn't fit is really the first step to finding out what does. Now, not long after, I made another big move about a year and a half later, and this time the move was to Minnesota. And let me tell you, moving somewhere new never gets easier, even if you've done it as many times as I have. Yeah, but this time it was different. My daughter, she had just entered Navy boot camp, and for the first time in so many years, like 21 years, we weren't living together. I had raised her on my own from the time that she was born, so being apart felt very strange, like a part of me was missing. And here I also was here in this new state, trying to find my footing. And so it wasn't just a new place this time, it was a new way of living alone for the first time in a really long time. And of course, moving to Minnesota didn't come without its challenges, especially the winter. I drove cross country with my dog Romeo, and it was February, and so it was so very cold in the Midwest. And one particularly icy morning in the Chicago area on our way to Minnesota, um, as I was about to put Romeo in the car, I slipped on the ice, and in a moment I threw him into the car, but my keys fell inside with him. And being his usual curious self, Romeo managed to sit on the key fob and lock the doors from the inside while I was stuck outside in the freezing cold. So I had to call the local police to help unlock the car. And so looking back, it was just a warm up for what I would experience in Minnesota winters. As unsettling as moving was, something really incredible happened once I started my new job. The kindness of strangers here really stood out. During my 6-week training, people would slip me notes or their phone numbers in the cafeteria when they found out that I was new in town and a new employee. That sense of community and warmth really made the transition for me easier. And then once I met my own team, we clicked immediately, becoming like a family. They call it Minnesota nice, and I can tell you it's real. It's moments like these that remind me, even in the middle of uncertainty, that we can always find something beautiful. Even though I've enjoyed my time here in Minnesota, I don't think that I'll stay forever. There is something inside me that always wants to explore what's next, and I've had my eye on Thailand for years. It's been this dream of mine to live there for a while, but more recently, I've been thinking about something closer to home. My daughter, she's stationed in the Navy, and like me, she's got this travel bug. She's following in my footsteps, traveling the world, but I only get to see her now maybe twice a year for a few days. So once she knows where she'll be stationed next year, I'm probably going to be moving closer to her, wherever she is. And now, years later, I find it so funny that I ended up living in Minneapolis after all. Even more, my daughter, she's in the Navy, and Annapolis, where I first lived when moving to the USA, is a Navy town. I was an au pair for a Navy nurse and a Navy pilot. I think life has this amazing way of bringing things full circle in really in ways that we never expect. Minnesota has been an important chapter, but I know that there's more out there waiting for me, and I've always believed in embracing change, no matter how scary it seems. When I look back, every move that I've made, whether it was to the US or to Minnesota or even leaving my job after 20 years, it has pushed me to grow in ways that I never expected. Each experience really taught me something different. Moving to a new country at age 18 made me more independent and adaptable, I think. And then changing careers in the middle of a pandemic taught me resilience and the courage to step into the unknown. And then living apart from my daughter helped me realize how important it is to trust the journey even when things feel really uncertain. It's funny how stepping into the unknown often brings the most beautiful surprises. It's taught me that no matter how scary it feels, there's always something waiting on the other side, like new friendships or maybe a new sense of self or just a place that starts to feel like home. So that's just a bit of my story, and if you've ever stood at a crossroads and felt unsure about the next step, just know that you're not alone. Every time that we take a step into the unknown, it's a chance to grow. I'd love for you to join me as I keep exploring this beautiful, unpredictable journey. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I can't wait to share more with you. Until next time.